because the average person, I'll
Hi
just say,
everyone.
how much are you doing?
Hi everyone, I'm with Philippe here and Filipos. I'm with Filipos here and I'm in front of the White House. That's where the President of the United States lived. The last time I was here, President Obama was here, and there was another lady sitting here and I interviewed her, and today it's Filipos. Filipos has been protesting. This camp has been set up for 30 years for world peace. Filipos, can you tell us what's the big problem in achieving world peace? What if you were the President of the United States, what would be the 3 things you would do to achieve your goal?
I would end the United Nations, and I'd create.
You would end the United Nations.
Yeah, and
okay.
I would have a new body, one with countries that actually at the helm that need the assistance and need their human rights violated. I'd want them to sit on the higher echelons of this new organization.
That's a cool idea.
The United States, Russia, China, Great Britain. I don't think there should be any G20 nations leading such an organization. I believe that nations and areas that are recognized, like Biafra it's recognized, but it's not a nation because it's part of Nigeria. What's happening to the Fulani in that area? Well, Palestine, which is, I mean, there's the Palestinian Authority, but it's not legally
part of
at this
Nations.
point, considered a nation, but they are a people.
Right.
And
interesting.
There are people that are scattered throughout the planet because of genocide that's gone on against them, and genocide's gone on throughout the planet, and it's not something that's happened to one people, but it's often only written in books about one people. What about the Native Americans that met their genocide by the hands of the British, the French, the Portuguese, the Spaniards, and the Dutch? But 13 million were killed by Leopold in the Congo, throughout the Congo. So that's a bigger genocide than what happened in Western Europe. And during the same World War II, 10.9 million people were killed in the Horn of Africa. So Eritrea was still part of Ethiopia. So Eritrea, Ethiopia, Djibouti, and Somalia by the Italians. And it was the same World War II. And that's 10.9 is a bigger number than the 6 million in Western Europe. But we keep on seeing only books written about the 6 million in Western Europe. And the 6 million, it included gypsies, it included blacks, it included homosexuals, it included mentally and physically handicapped. So that total number is 6 million. And look, there's nothing wrong with saying 3.8 million or 2.4 million. That's still a big number. Just make it a factual number and don't include all the other groups that were killed. And when we have the truth revealed, maybe we could come closer to peace.
What's step 2?
Step 2. Step 2 is eliminating the word race as meaning the melanin of somebody's hair, skin, and eyes. Race is one race, the human race. And the closer we come to the brotherhood and the sisterhood of humanity, I think the closer we can get to not consider anyone inferior, and then therefore not wanting to attack our brothers and our sisters. And step 3, greed.
How do you get rid of greed?
That one's the biggest debate. That one's the biggest debate to take care of, because I don't have all the answers.
Right.
I don't have. That one's one that we should come together at a large table and debate, and if not debate, speak
about it.
Compassionately speak. And again, because it would be speech between brothers and sisters.
Right.
And And there should be, of course, probably the internet is now the forum that we could use because we can do it and speak with people from every nation. And on that one, I do invite people from the G20. I have nothing against the civilians of the G20 nations. My problem is the top politicians from the G20 nations and what they think they should do to the smaller nations, and even as far as the funding of human rights violations. I mean, to me, what England did in giving away land where people already had lived for thousands of years was a human rights violation. I mean, what were the people that already lived there for so long, what were they going to do if you gave away the land under their foot that they had been nurturing, and their great go back 45, 60 generations of great grandparents that had already lived on that land and grew their livestock and had their vegetation growing there, and it was their home for that long. But you just decide that one, what, it doesn't matter, we're going to pull out those homes out from under them, and we're going to call it a land grant, because a land grant sounds nice. It sounds nice to get a land grant. What doesn't sound nice is the reality, the creation of homelessness, the creation of taking something out from under your feet. What happened to the Native Americans happened to the Palestinians.
You have a very interesting office space. You see things which normal humans don't see. What are the obstacles towards achieving the peace in the world?
Obstacles? Political views are a big obstacle, and that's again why I say I have no problem with the civilians of other nations. Civilians are not powerful enough to launch their nation's military into a war. That's usually the leader of a nation, and whether you call it parliament, whether you call it Congress, council, committees, or ministers, they're all politicians as well. So the leaders of these nations run it by their ministers, Congress, committees, councils, or parliament, who are also politicians, to approve war. So we should stop having a problem with civilians of other nations. The problem should be with politicians.
Some people blame the war mafia, the companies which make the weapons, towards all this. Like their business they'll be out of business for doing that. Do you agree with that?
I believe that the politicians, that they're the ones that create the demand for the weaponry. If the politicians were not in line with war is the answer for everything before diplomacy, because at the back end of a war, the two parties, nations, they do come together and they do speak on the ending of a war. They do speak on, we get this much, you get that much. We do speak on, we will still have troops there for the next 10, 15 years. So they do use diplomacy on the back end. How about saving these young soldiers and use diplomacy on the front end instead of only on the back end? But they don't want to use diplomacy. They want, the perfect point is the words that Donald J. Trump said at the United Nations, that he wants to basically wipe North Korea off the face of the earth. Instead of trying to use diplomacy. Now, wiping North Korea off the face of the earth, if he's thinking about using nuclear weapons, you see, nuclear weapons do not respect national borders. So the radiation would go into China and would go into South Korea. South Korea is our ally. China is we never want to do something. It's not quite a sleeping lion. I mean, 1.3 billion people. I see it as no problem that China could raise up an army of 400,000 people, 400 million people, which is larger than the entire population of the United States. It's about 130% the entire population of the United States. So the United States, 100% of their people wouldn't go to war. I mean, there's people under 18 years old, and then they're senior citizens. Maybe we could, at the max, if everybody, maybe 75 million, they could raise up 400 million, 500 million. It would not be a pretty thing for the United States to eventually go to war against China, because if we radiate China, I don't understand how they would have any other option than to respond back to us radiating China with a nuclear weapon that we drop in North Korea. And the region would be unstabilized, and Russia's in the region. And Russia has nuclear capability beyond what the United States has. They have the Satan II, which the United States has nothing fast enough to intercept the Satan II missile. So I wouldn't want to get involved in something and destabilizing the region of Asia, which Russia's part of.
Thank you for the great insight.
You're welcome. Peace be with everyone.